Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon, because what you're about to hear might just be the most fascinating story hidden in your coin box or old collection. You never know when history might be sitting right in your palm, waiting to surprise you. Now, picture this. The year is 1948. The world is just beginning to recover from the tremors of the Second World War. Nations are rebuilding, soldiers are returning home, and the world map is shifting once again. Across the southern tip of Africa, a nation stands at a crossroads, South Africa, a country about to step into one of its most defining and controversial eras. And in the middle of this transformation, a small copper coin quietly rolls off the minting presses. The South Africa half-penny of 1948 at a first glance. It's easy to overlook. It's small, simple, reddish-brown, and humble. But like so many things in history, its value isn't in its size. It's in the story it carries. This tiny piece of metal is a snapshot of a nation on the brink of a new chapter. 1948 wasn't just any year. It was the year the National Party came into power, the year the policy of apartheid was officially born. The world was about to watch a nation divide itself, and this coin was minted right on the edge of that transformation. Now, think about the craftsmanship behind it. On one side, you'll find the portrait of King George VI, the reigning monarch of the British Empire, a man whose image appeared on coins from London to India to South Africa. His stern, dignified profile represented stability after a period of chaos. The inscription around his head reads, Georgius Sextus Rex, which translates to George VI, King. It's a reminder of the British influence that still lingered deeply in South Africa during that time. Flip it over, and you see something different, something uniquely African. The design features the sailing ship Dromedaris, one of the three ships that brought the first Dutch settlers to the Cape of Good Hope in 1652 under Jan van Riebeeck. The Dromedaris wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol of beginnings, of a colonial presence that would shape centuries of South African history. The coin blends the legacy of the British Crown and the Dutch settlers, two worlds converging on a small copper disc. Now, to someone holding it in 1948, it was just half a penny, barely enough to buy a sweet or a newspaper. But today, this same coin tells a story of survival, rarity, and value beyond imagination. Because not every 1948 half-penny is the same. Some were struck in limited quantities, and fewer still survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. Most coins were used, passed from hand to hand, worn down by daily life. Small purchases, market exchanges, the rhythm of ordinary existence. But a few lucky ones, preserved in drawers or collections, escaped the touch of time. Collectors around the world chase coins like this because they hold more than metal. They hold emotion, memory, and legacy. For men who lived through the post-war decades, who remember the news headlines of the 1940s and 50s, this coin is more than history. It's nostalgia. It's a window to a world that was harder, slower, and more tangible. You could feel its weight in your pocket. You could hear its clink on the counter. It reminds us of a time when every coin told a story. And what makes this particular year, 1948, so captivating for collectors is its timing. It's the year that changed South Africa forever, marking the rise of a system that would dominate its politics for nearly half a century. That gives this coin historical gravity. It's not just old, it's significant. It's from the dawn of a defining moment, a turning point frozen in copper. But there's more to this little gem than symbolism. Rarity plays a massive role in determining a coin's worth, and the South African 1948 half-penny has that in spades. The mintage was relatively low, and those struck in perfect condition, free of scratches, wear, and discoloration, are incredibly scarce. Most people never knew they were holding something that would someday be sought after by collectors across the globe. Over time, as silver and copper coins disappeared from circulation, these older pieces gained a sort of mythical status. Collectors, investors, and history enthusiasts began combing through old boxes, family trunks, and estate sales, looking for that perfect, untouched specimen. It's not just about owning it. It's about holding a piece of time, a tangible link to an era gone by. Imagine this: a small copper coin, minted 77 years ago, outlasting wars, governments, and generations. It has crossed oceans, been held by countless hands, and somehow survived to tell its story. That's the kind of romance and mystery that keeps collectors passionate for decades. Now, if you've ever gone through your old change jar or a box of coins inherited from your parents or grandparents, this is exactly the kind of coin you should keep an eye out for. The 1948 South Africa half-penny can be easily mistaken for a common piece, but the real treasures lie in the details: sharp edges, clear lettering, and a bright, untouched surface. These small features can mean the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth a small fortune. For many men in their 50s, 60s, or beyond, this isn't just about money. It's about legacy, about rediscovering the simple pleasures of collecting, remembering the coins that once jingled in your pocket as a child, and realizing that those same coins can now tell stories that transcend generations. Holding one is like holding a piece of your own history, a reminder of simpler times, yet carrying immense value in today's world. And here's where things get exciting. In recent years, collectors' markets and auctions have seen extraordinary prices for rare South African coins. The 1948 half-penny, especially in mint or proof condition, has captured attention worldwide. Some pieces, perfectly preserved, have fetched values that seem almost unbelievable for something so small and unassuming. And this isn't speculation. It's reality for the few lucky enough to find one in pristine form. So before you toss aside that old coin collection or dismiss that small copper piece in your drawer, take a closer look. Because that tiny piece of history could be far more than it appears. It's a fragment of a world long gone, a testament to craftsmanship, resilience, and time itself. And now, for the part you've been waiting for, the value. A genuine 1948 South Africa half-penny, in exceptional, uncirculated condition, can fetch up to an astounding $15,000. Yes, you heard that right, $15,000. A single copper coin, once worth less than a loaf of bread, now commands the price of a luxury watch or even a new car. That's the magic of numismatics, the art and passion of collecting coins. It turns metal into memory and history into treasure. Before we dive into today's fascinating story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, because every week we explore the untold stories hidden in the world's most remarkable coins, pieces that don't just hold metal, but memory, history, and mystery. Now, close your eyes for a moment and imagine the world in 1942. The world was in the throes of war. Nations were reshaping their destinies, and even the smallest corners of the world were feeling the tremors of history. Down in the southern tip of Africa, the Union of South Africa was part of that same storm. It was a time when even a humble half-penny coin could carry a story far greater than its size. The 1942 South Africa half-penny wasn't made to impress kings or line the pockets of wealthy men. It was made for everyday people, the miners, the railway workers, the farmers, the factory hands. Small copper coins like this passed from rough hands to shopkeepers' tills, through the pockets of soldiers returning from leave, and through the fingers of children who were just beginning to understand what money meant. Yet, over time, this little coin became far more than a token of exchange. It became a time capsule that the untrained eye. The one half-penny from 1942 looks simple. It's small, made of bronze, about the size of a modern dime, and carries the image of King George VI on one side. His profile firm, steady, representing the British monarchy during some of its most difficult years. Around his image are the words Georgiv VI Rex Imperator, Latin for George VI, King and Emperor. Those words were a declaration of empire, reaching across continents, binding distant lands like South Africa to London's throne. On the reverse side, there's something beautiful and deeply South African. The image of a sailing ship, the legendary dromedaris, one of the ships that brought Jan van Riebeeck to the Cape in 1652. Around it, the words South Africa appear in both English and Afrikaans, a reminder of a country that was, and still is, woven together from many voices and identities. Now imagine holding that coin in 1942. The air smells faintly of coal and sea salt. The radio crackles with war news. Men talk about the desert battles up north. Women roll bandages and knit socks for the troops. And in the midst of all that, this tiny coin slips quietly through their lives. Perhaps it bought a loaf of bread, a newspaper, or a child's sweet. Perhaps it was dropped in a pocket during a train journey that would never be finished. The remarkable thing is that most of those coins, like so many from that era, simply disappeared over time. They wore down, were lost, melted, or forgotten. But a few survived, just a few, untouched, uncirculated, as though they had been frozen in time. And that's where the story of the 1942 South Africa halfpenny becomes truly extraordinary. For coin collectors, condition is everything. A coin that's been handled, rubbed, and weathered by years of use may still tell a story, but it rarely carries great value. The rarest treasures are the ones that escaped life's wear and tear. The 1942 halfpenny, when found in pristine, uncirculated condition, where every detail of King George's face and the ship's rigging remains crisp and untouched, becomes something far greater than a common copper piece. It becomes a witness, a preserved relic of an era long gone. Think about that. A simple coin that once jingled in a pocket during the height of World War II, now sealed in a collector's case, shimmering under soft light, each curve and edge still sharp after more than 80 years. For the generation that lived through those times, that coin is a whisper from the past. For the collector who holds it today, it's a bridge between history and legacy. But what gives this coin such a powerful pull, especially among those of us who remember the value of hard work and the dignity of craftsmanship? It's more than rarity, it's resonance. Many men of a certain age grew up seeing similar coins in their father's drawers, or in a jar beside the bed, or even in the hands of a grandparent who told stories about the old days. When we look at a coin like the 1942 halfpenny, we're not just seeing bronze. We're seeing the echo of an entire generation's effort, struggle, and pride. Collectors often say that every coin has two values, the one written in the catalog and the one it holds in your heart. This coin has both. Because of its age, its low mintage numbers during wartime, and the difficulty of finding one in top condition, the 1942 South Africa halfpenny has become a highly sought-after piece in numismatic circles. But even more powerful is what it represents: survival, endurance, and memory. There's also a quiet beauty in its design. The ship, forever sailing on calm seas, reminds us of humanity's constant search for new horizons. The Latin script and imperial title remind us of how far-reaching the British Empire once was, and how time has softened those lines, leaving behind only artifacts to tell the story. The copper itself, with its warm, reddish tone, seems to hold the glow of countless sunsets over the African landscape. And here's where the story takes its most surprising turn. A coin that once had a face value of half a penny, barely enough to buy a matchbox in 1942, can today command an astonishing price in the right condition and to the right collector. Imagine holding something that once passed unnoticed through the hands of ordinary people, and realizing it's now worth more than most men ever imagined such a small thing could be. That's the magic of history, of time, and of patience. The 1942 South Africa halfpenny, especially one preserved in mint or proof condition, has sold for as much as $7,000. Yes, $7,000, for a coin that was once worth a fraction of a cent. That's not just a number. That's the reward of rarity, the price of preservation, and the proof that history, when cared for, can truly become treasured as own next time you come across an old coin, tucked away in a box, resting in an old album, or sitting forgotten in a drawer. Take a moment before you pass it by. Look closer. Feel its weight. Listen to what it might be trying to tell you. Because somewhere among those worn edges and faded faces could lie the next hidden gem, a small piece of the past waiting patiently to tell its story to someone who still remembers what stories are worth. And if you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to subscribe, because every coin we uncover has another tale to tell, and some of them, just like the 1942 South Africa halfpenny, might hold a value far beyond their face, sometimes even $7,000. If you're someone who appreciates the charm of old coins, rare finds, and the stories they hold, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is where the past still glimmers through metal and memory. Stay till the end because you won't believe what this little coin is worth today. We're talking about the 1949 South Africa halfpenny, a coin with more history than you might imagine, and a value that might just leave you speechless. Let's start by going back more than 70 years, to a time when the world was still reshaping after the Second World War. It was 1949. South Africa was a country standing at a turning point. Industries were rebuilding, currencies were stabilizing, and ordinary people were just starting to dream again after years of turmoil. Amidst this, the Royal Mint in Pretoria struck a small bronze coin, a halfpenny, or 1/2 D, as it appeared. Carrying the portrait of King George VI, the father of the late Queen Elizabeth I. At first glance, the coin didn't seem like anything extraordinary. It was small, light, and made of simple bronze. But like many treasures in numismatics, its power lies not in its size or shine, but in its story. You see, 1949 wasn't just any year in South African coinage. It marked a moment when the country's currency system was evolving and English rule was still deeply imprinted on its money. The coins carried both English and Afrikaans inscriptions, a symbol of the nation's dual heritage and identity. That small halfpenny was, in many ways, a snapshot of a country in transition. The obverse side of the coin featured the dignified image of King George VI, facing left, his crownless head surrounded by the words George's Six Rex. To anyone who lived through that era, his portrait was a familiar sight on everything from coins to stamps. But the reverse is where collectors' hearts truly beat faster. It showed a magnificent sailing ship, the Dromedaris, one of the vessels that brought the Dutch settlers led by Jan van Riebeeck to the Cape in the 1600s. Below it, the denomination read 1/2 D, with the date 1949 split on either side of the ship. It's a simple design, yet it carries the entire weight of colonial history, exploration, and identity in one small space of bronze. Now, what makes this coin so special today? After all, millions of half-pennies were struck that year. But here's the secret that seasoned collectors know. Rarity isn't just about mintage. It's about condition, errors, and survival. Most of these coins circulated heavily, passed from one hand to another buying bread, tea, or bus tickets. And after years of wear, many ended up scratched, bent, or corroded. But a few, just a lucky few, escaped into safekeeping, untouched by time. And those are the ones that today make collectors sit up straight and pay attention. Among these coins, certain varieties stand out. Some have subtle differences in lettering or mint marks that can make a world of difference in value. Others, struck with minor die flaws or alignment issues, became accidental rarities. Coins that tell a story of imperfection in an age when perfection was the goal. For the sharp-eyed collector, finding one of these variations can mean the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth thousands. But beyond rarity, there's something deeply nostalgic about holding a 1949 South Africa halfpenny. It's a piece that connects people to a time when craftsmanship mattered. The metal feels solid, the engraving is crisp, and even after decades, the patina of age only makes it more beautiful. For many collectors, especially those who remember the old British coinage or who grew up in the Commonwealth, it's a direct link to youth, to fathers and grandfathers who carried similar coins in their pockets. Think about it for a moment. Every tiny scratch on a coin like this tells a story of a life lived, of hands that worked, of markets, shops, and laughter shared. You're not just looking at money, you're looking at a witness to history. And that, more than anything, is why these coins draw in collectors from around the world. They don't just collect coins, they collect moments frozen in metal. Over the years, the market for South African coins has grown tremendously. Collectors from Europe, America, and across Africa now search for early Union-era coins, and demand continues to rise. With that demand has come a new appreciation for coins that once seemed common. The 1949 halfpenny, especially in uncirculated or proof condition, has become one of those quiet stars, not shouted about, but always admired by those who know. It's a coin that represents history, artistry, and a deep sense of continuity that let's also not forget the practical side. Coins like these have proven to be surprisingly strong investments. While the world of collectibles can be unpredictable, the demand for rare historical coins has remained steady, even in uncertain times. Collectors are aging, but they're also passing on their passion and their collections to a new generation. That means coins with real history, beauty, and scarcity are likely to keep rising in value. The 1949 halfpenny fits that category perfectly. Now, here's the part you've been waiting for. You might be wondering, after all this history and fascination, what could such a small piece of bronze possibly be worth today? The answer depends, of course, on its condition. A worn example might fetch just a few dollars. But in pristine mint state, untouched by circulation, with every detail of the ship and the king's portrait gleaming, the value soars. In the hands of the right collector, or at the right auction, this little 1949 South Africa halfpenny can command prices that defy expectations. Some of the finest graded examples have been valued at up to $10,000. Yes, you heard that right. $10,000 for a coin that once bought a few sweets or a loaf of bread. It's a reminder that history rewards preservation, that patience pays off, and that even the smallest things can carry immense worth when time gives them meaning. So, if you have one of these coins tucked away in a drawer or an old collection, take another look. Check its shine, its edges, its details. Because what might seem like an old bit of pocket change could very well be a small fortune waiting to be discovered. And for those who don't have one yet, keep your eyes open. The thrill of the hunt, the touch of the past, and the story it carries are what make coin collecting not just a hobby, but a passion that lasts a lifetime. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed exploring the story of the 1949 South Africa halfpenny, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next discovery. Every coin has a story, and some, like this one, are worth far more than their weight in bronze. Until next time, keep collecting, keep discovering, and never underestimate the value of history in your hands.